Welcome back to Inside the Lines. Happy Thursday. Today, we just have a lot of picks for you. A very topical show. Sometimes we have line movement. Sometimes we have injury impact, yada, yada. But today, we're just getting to it. We're getting to the picks. We're going to start with this beautiful Hollywood Thursday night football game, boys. Who's excited?
Woof.
All right, so let's start here. First player prop. It's gone down. You can find it at 8.5 some places, but Bryce Young to go over 9.5 rushing yards.
Yeah, yes. So yesterday I was alerted to the fact that I had an OCD tick where I was thumping the desk. And what happened is I was on an 0 streak in the NBA, and then our NBA picks were perfect for the Sixers game pretty much. So I don't care what anyone says. I'm going to keep tapping to see if it'll reverse my down streak in the NFL.
I'll just mute you.
Because I attribute a lot of my success in my life into OCD, a healthy dose of OCD, and superstition. So here goes nothing. I'm sorry. It's got to be part of my process. First of all, I was a little scared that the line did tick down to 8.5 because it made no sense to me, other than maybe there's some kind of injury concerns of a Bryce Young that's not being widely reported. But so besides assuming that he's okay, I just love the fact that when he did come under this number, it was the 2 games where he's coming back from injury. But when he's been quote unquote healthy, he's rushed for plenty of yards. He just had over 50 his last game. He averages around 7 yards per carry. So I think this is a classic case where sometimes I also like when quarterbacks have something to prove, especially if you're undersized and struggling like Bryce. All the praise going to CJ Stroud. One way that quarterbacks try to do that is to take off early. So I'm hoping this is one where he runs early.
Do you think the addition of Montez Sweat will help this number just because he has
to
be running
more?
Hopefully
he has to run for his life a little bit.
Yeah, I like that. I like him under pressure. He seems a lot more comfortable with Thomas Brown, too, making the play calls there. All right, let's move on to some players that will probably be affected by DJ likely being out, one of those being Jonathan Mingo. So we like his receiving yards over.
Again, I'm going over the plays I have today. I'm admitting I don't think we'll go 3-0. I'm really trying to just minimize my chances of going 0-3 again, and having a worst case 1-2. So because DJ Chark's out pretty much, I think that Thielen will get his. I figure that Mingo and then the next pick will be Hayden Hurst. One of them will go over. I don't think both of them will go over, but I'm going to play both of them. Again, bad strategy if you're trying to win like a DFS, optimal lineup.
Yeah, super awkward because I made an entire.
For me, it was striving for 2-1 and a tick at this point. I'm sitting here ticking and doing whatever I can to recreate whatever mojo I have from the NBA last night. Besides the fact that Mingo, our model line is 38 here. You see some of the higher lines are 35.5. So some sports books have a much bigger number. So I like the fact that, I'm not alone in that case. He's averaged before last week where he only had 5 yards on 1 catch. He was targeted 4 times, and the previous 3 games, he was averaging 44 receiving yards on 5 targets per game. So he was on a nice little streak. And if this game was last week, I bet this line would be closer to 38. So I kind of like, okay, last week was a miserable week for the whole offense, multiple pick sixes, 3 interceptions. Let's chalk that up as to Bryce's bad game, and you remove the high, remove the low, and where would you be?
Right. And let's not forget that the Bears pass D is 5th worst in the whole NFL, which should help. Also, Hayden Hurst, this line has been climbing. When you made this yesterday, it was 12.5. We have to take it to 15.5, 16, 17 at some books. So this is definitely an act now if you can find that 15.
Yeah, again, like Mingo, I like the fact that some sports books have this number much, much higher. We have our numbers not massively over, but it's in the 20s. And I think the number is down. He's a starting tight end, and he just had a pretty big game, a 54-yard game. The number's down overall, though, because the offense, he went from Cincinnati last year down to Carolina. So even though his usage and target rate, hasn't gone down, the overall production obviously went from Joe Burrow and the Bengals to Bryce Young in Carolina. It's a 30% drop in yardage. So that's why the line is set so low, in my opinion. But again, I think that besides the game versus Houston, where both offenses were bad, he's had at least 3 targets per game, and he averages 9.5 yards per reception. So it's really about, can he get 2 out of the 3 catches, and maybe gets a 4th target without Chark there. So if he can get 2 out of 4 catches, just mathematically on average, he should go over 15.5.
I don't know why you don't think this can go 3-0. I think it still can. And I also made a Sportsline TikTok about this as a 3-leg parlay, which 100,000 people have now seen. So I'm going to root for this to be able to all happen. All right. Keep asking your Thursday Night Football questions in the chat. Steven and Jake can answer them there, as well as Derek. Let's move over to the NBA for a few games tonight. Now we'll start with the Hawks going to Orlando. Orlando figuring out defense this season, it seems.
Yeah, so this game is in Mexico City, I guess. So we don't have any action on the spread in this case, but yeah, Orlando. So Orlando's been allowing 105 a game. 108 on the road, 101 at home, but a significant improvement from a year ago. The lines come down from 233 to 231.5. So it's I think people are responding to the same factors that we're identifying here. I'm also relying on, Orlando to continue not to shoot very well from 3. So to keep this lower. Orlando's defensive 2-point percentage is also much better this year. It's early, obviously, but last year they allowed a pretty high 57% on 2s. This year it's down to 53%. I don't know how much Wendell Carter being out impacts that. Jake, you might have a better sense, but I'm hoping that, again, you have a lot of relatively poor shooting guards for Orlando. Fultz, who's questionable, but looks like he's going to play. Suggs and Anthony Black. But those guys can all play good perimeter defense. So I'm hoping that they can limit Trae Young and the other guards for Atlanta's 3-point shooting.
Yeah, I'm on Jalen Suggs over 1.5 turnovers in this game, just because I think that's going to play into the under. I think I'm on over 7.5 rebounds for Paolo.
Let's move over to a game that will have probably a higher possession game here. The Pacers playing the Bucks. We have a player prop here.
Yeah, so Halliburton's number is down. It's always a steal prop is always good. The line's always going to be 1.5, but so it's the juice that you got to look at. And even though he averaged right around 1.5 steals a game last year, his number, the juice on the over is plus 160. Our model is actually projecting only 1.35 steals, but at plus 160, that's really good value. That's 1.5 plus 160 on the over is more like a 1.1 line if you were to mathematically look at it. So there is model value, though the number itself isn't higher. Look, he averages more steals at home, 0.2, which is a significant number when you're talking about a number like 1.5. That's 15% more. The over is 18 and 16, even though it's been under this part of the year. I also like the fact that, someone asked a comment in the beginning, is that this game is an incredibly high total, 241. Scoring, hasn't been as high this year. So to see such a high total implies a high, and the model line is right around 240 as well, implies a lot of possessions. And so I'm hoping there's a lot of just extra opportunities for turnovers.
Right. All right, let's move back to that Magic game here. Clint Capella, we just need 1 assist from him here, okay? And he should have enough minutes tonight against a big team like the Magic to do it.
Yeah, and my super sophisticated analysis of he's due, that didn't work. My Tobias Harris, that was the one pick that didn't work last night. I had over half a block because he hadn't had a block in 3 games, and he proceeded to not lift his arm above his hands did not go over his shoulders unless he was shooting. But that said, can't lose twice. So I can't lose a he's due 2 in a row, right? That would be like 6. That's like 8 games and loss in a row. So, it all works mathematically, I'm pretty sure. It's very scientific. But the over is over just 3 and 4 this season. But, he's going back to the beginning of last year, he's 43 and 33, getting 1 assist. He barely gets more than 1, but he gets that 1 assist. Mm-hmm. Orlando has a decent team, and obviously Banchero is their leading scorer. So I think they'll want to have Capella there. And plus, he's a good rim protector. Not what he was years ago, but, still his calling card. Our model line is 0.72 for what it's worth, but, clearly over 0.5. I also like the team total for Atlanta. Again, even though we're leading under in this game, the team total for Orlando is still 118. It's a lot of points. Not for Atlanta. For Atlanta, it's still 118. So that's a healthy number. So hopefully one of those assists and because some friendly scorekeepers in Mexico City, giving out assists left and right. Oh, I was thinking, yeah, the biggest, like he's gone under because he hasn't played a lot of minutes in a couple games this year. But I think he'll play the requisite 25 plus in this game.
I like it. I like that he's due. Now we will have a recap at the end of this for all of these picks because I was feeling generous today. All right, Steven, I'm sending you into the chat to talk NBA, talk Thursday Night Football, answer some questions. Jake, you know what time it is. We're going to hit college football. First, team total Thursday. Strap in. Here we go. We got 6 team totals. We'll start with Louisville. Team total over 34.5 versus UVA. This is tonight.
Yeah, this game's tonight. Yeah, and this is an interesting game because I would probably wait to see if Anthony Calandria is playing for Virginia because he is the leader in whoopsie daisies according to Tom Fornelli. And if he is playing, there's probably maybe a chance for a pick 6 or 2 for Louisville. And I just think this game's at home. I'm not sure if it's senior night. It might be. It might not be. But even then, Louisville averages more at home. Virginia's defense has been a little bad away. Getting this below a key number of 35 is key. So I would get this when you can.
Okay. A little act now moment. Let's move to, this is crazy to me. Rutgers team total under 13.5. The game line is 27.5, 28, dancing around there. Could be historically low.
Yeah, I think this is going to be the lowest total in the history of college football. I guess using True Media, it only dates back to like 1980, but I don't know if there was totals back then that were this low. Maybe Harvard Yale in 1940 was 10 points. But I just like this play at plus money. We have Rutgers at 12 points. It was 0-0 between Iowa and Northwestern half. I think Rutgers is averaging 13 points on the road, and I was giving up 13 points at home. So if maybe a missed extra point could be the difference here, but I really like this play at plus money.
Yeah, this game is giving Bears-Panthers energy.
Yeah.
Like it's not going to be awesome. That is for sure.
The Bears Commanders last year on Thursday Night Football. That's giving that too.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's move to your next one. USF team total over 37.5 against Temple.
Yeah, this is just betting on USF's high-paced offense against a Temple team that has a pretty poor defense. USF's offense is a lot better at home. I think they put up 50 points into their last 3 games. This is just betting on a high-paced offense versus a bad defense and at home, and the weather should be perfect here in Tampa.
Perfect. All right, let's move to Troy. Team total under 33.5 versus ULM.
Yeah, this one's a little scary because I think 2 of the last 3 weeks we've missed a Troy team total by half a point, but we're going right back to it at plus money. Troy's an under team. They're on the road here. I think they did score 34 against ULM last year at home, but this is on the road. ULM's defense is a little better at home than it is on the road. Troy's offense averages, I think, 3 less points on the road. So this is just one of those plays where the model sees a lot of value because of those home run splits. I think we have them at 27 points.
Okay. I see 2 questions in the chat I want to get to, but let's get through your other 2 team totals first, and then we'll hit those. Oklahoma State team total under 33.5 versus UCF.
Yeah, this one's another one that scares me. We have undervalue in this whole game. This is going to be, can UCF stop Ollie Gordon? That's the big question here because Alan Bowman doesn't scare me throwing the ball. Yes, they have some good wide receivers. It's just going to be if they could manage to allow Ollie Gordon to rush for 120 yards and compare to 250. So that's the big thing here. We have State at around 28, I think. So you're getting some good value here. It's just 2 teams, like I mentioned a couple days ago, that like to run the ball. And so if they're not getting big chunk plays and they're getting 10, 15 yards max instead of these 30, 40-yard plays, then I like the under. Maybe this could be a live under play.
Yeah. And we always love when we have the game under that complements the team total under. Let's do one more here. UTSA team total over 35.5. They are 14-point home favorites versus Rice.
Yeah, I wanted to see if I get a 34.5 somewhere, but you couldn't. But still, I like 35.5. I think we have them above 40 points here. It's just another team with a high-paced offense against a bad defense, similar to the USF game. I know Rice has been in plenty of shootouts this season, and Frank Harris has been really good. He's starting to I think that their numbers, according to some models, are a little lower than they should because Frank Harris was banged up earlier in the season, and now he's healthy. So I think that could be affecting models, why it has him at 35.5 compared to us having them at 40, 42.
Okay. Good to know there. Again, that will all be on the recap screen. Let's move to some questions here. One regarding, we talked about this earlier in the week, Florida State versus Miami. They were 14 and a half. We thought that would steam towards Florida State. Seems like it's going the other way now. Would you understand why that would be?
I think it's just a rivalry game that people are just moving the line just because rivalry games are mostly close games. It is a revenge game after Miami got killed last week, and just weird stuff happens in college football and rivalry games. Unfortunately, not this year in Florida, Georgia, but weird stuff happens a lot of times in rivalry games. So I think that's why it's moving. I don't see any injury reports. I know that Keon Coleman and Johnny Wilson have been banged up. And so maybe this is indicating that one of them's out. So that could be something to monitor.
Okay. Let's move to one more question here. Steven, I see you have the model up. I want to answer Nick's questions about Houston team total and Fresno State over 27.5. I'll bring you
Houston,
in.
Texas, and Fresno. So 3 different ones here.
Oh, yeah.
I think we do have value on Houston. Well, I know we really like Fresno against the spread this week. I know that.
Yeah. So Houston, we have a slight lean. Houston over 31.5. No, not. We have a 31-point projection for Houston. So we have the same line as them. Fresno. Let me see.
It might be the last game of the week on the way bottom.
Is Fresno one of those teams we start off in the beginning of the year?
What?
Is Fresno one of those teams that we got mad at the beginning of the year and kind of rid off?
I know last year they screwed us at least once. I mean, so they might be on the dead to me list, but I think
we have a lot of model volume on them this week. So I'm just looking at, probably because San Jose State's been giving up a lot at home. A lot of rushing yards at home.
I think
Fresno.
I prefer just betting Fresno straight up here. Mike Keenan, Nick, he has been really good this season.
So Fresno's been a pretty consistent offensive team.
Chevin Cordero is a little more inconsistent than Keen, so I just prefer betting Fresno. I think if Fresno scores over 27.5, they win this game. So I would probably lean towards. So
it looks like because Fresno is a really solid 30-point per game team, but then last year's matchup they only won 17-10. So maybe that brought the line down. And I wouldn't overreact to one matchup, even though it's obviously the same team. I think. I think the trend
where the quarterback was hurt last year. And
the defense of San Jose State they allowed 22.5 a game last season and then 30.5. So whatever dynamic was involved there is clearly not the case this year. The yards per carry allowed last year, 3.4. Now it's up to 5. So I don't know if they lost a bunch of D linemen and linebackers, but they look like they're allowing 60 more yards this year.
Big Cheesy hanging out with the backup of Fresno State. All right,
I think Mike might have started that game last year between the two teams. I'm not sure.
He might have. All right. Let's move on. Jake has 2 college basketball plays for us today. So I'm going to kick Steven, and we're going to get to those quick before we run out of time here. Let's move, not parlays, but we have a money line here.
Yeah, I don't love the parlay options today. We did hit one of 2 yesterday, and the one that we hit was plus money. So we're still winning this year. We're still on the plus money. I don't mind playing at Middle Tennessee State -2.5, -1.5, but I feel more comfortable with the money line here. So I like this play. I think they're a better team against Stephen F. Austin. They beat a good North Kentucky team in their first game of the season, Middle Tennessee State. They have pretty good depth. I think Stephen F. Austin played a D2 game in their first game of the season. So this is going to be a big test for them, and they're on the road here.
All right, let's move to one more play here. We have an under Rhode Island Fairfield. I think, Rhode Island 9.5-point favorites here.
Yeah, so you get this at 141.5 in some places. This play is more betting on last year's statistics than this year, because last year both teams averaged in the 130s, and both teams played in the 150s in their first game this season. But there's so much more data on last year. Rhode Island has the same coach. Fairfield's coach stepped down before the season, but their assistant coach is now their head coach. So there's a lot of continuity, and that's pretty much how you measure pace, is seeing if there's any coaching changes or not. So based on last year's, this game should be an under game. It's been bet up. I think it opened at 138.5. It's been bet up to 141.5. I think people just are reading too much into a 1 game sample. Mm-hmm. So if you look at 30 game samples from last year, we like the under.
Right. Sneaky. I like it. All right. With that, plenty of plays today. Let's take a quick look at the recap screen, give it a screenshot, write it down. Probably don't write it down, play it back, do what you have to do. A lot of plays today. And you know what tomorrow is? Tomorrow's a prop party. Lots of props, lots of sports to bet on. So we will have to run through those quickly. But good vibes tonight. Good luck with your bets, everyone. I hope everyone cashes, has a grand time watching this beautiful Thursday night football game. But you know what? Hopefully our bets make it better. So with that, we'll see you guys tomorrow at 1.